Hello friends and welcome back to another Devblog review. This is Devblog 129, CityStates Part 1. Apologies for the tardiness, but you know, IRL things happening. So this is going to be a two-parter. We're going to look at Devblog 129, which is CityStates, and Devblog 130, which is the new southern weapons. Let's get into it. A major feature of the upcoming Blazing Deserts DLC is an expanded south with several city-states that have their own distinct culture, looks, services, contracts, and more, based loosely on medieval-era Arabian and Persian culture. Time to talk about it in detail. The city-states. The southern deserts. What is a barren wasteland now, once was green and fruitful. An ancient empire ruled these lands long ago, but a cataclysmic event purged it from the face of the world along with their god-emperor, leaving but ruins and ashes. And from the ashes the belief in a new god arose, a powerful god manifest in the sun, the Gilder. And from the ruins new cities arose, the southern city-states. Are these wastes? You see nothing but sand, air so hot it burns the lungs, ferine creatures malforming just to survive. And what of the man who strides here, distilled to his essence? The north finds nobility between the empty chatter of their artificers. Here, nature is nobility, and under such auspices, it is the strongest who rise, basking beneath the shine of the Gilder, and the weak who are burned beneath his sublimity. It is a measurement most peculiar, and one not often understood by interlopers. The southern city-states are magnificent cities now, easily as large as the largest cities found in the north. They dot the southern deserts, where water is to be found, reigning over a precious resource in the otherwise dry and blazingly hot lands. Their streets are abuzz with traders offering their wares on busy bazaars. Trade with exotic spices and fabrics has made them rich, and their wealthy elite are patrons of the arts and sciences. Advancements in medicine, astrology, and alchemy are unlike anything found in the north, but much of their economy was built on the back of slaves, and life is cheap here. The city-states are not ruled by nobility, but by wealth. Ruling councils consist of viziers, ministers, each responsible for a different aspect of governing the state, elected from the rich bourgeois. So decadent and removed are they from the plight of the common man, that they regard everyone as tools used for their amusement. A mercenary captain could find plenty of work here, whether hunting down desert raiders or crushing slave rebellions. But they would also find disdain from their employers, who regard a mercenary as but a crownling, a slave of a different kind, a slave of the coin. The southerners, who call themselves gilded for their belief in their single god in whose shine they bask day in and day out, are of darker complexion than northern folks. You'll find many of the same professions here as in the north, but also some unique to their culture. For example, slaves can be bought on slave auctions and put to use even in a mercenary company. Ooh. You pay for a slave once, but never pay them any wages. And the morale of southern backgrounds will not suffer should the slaves perish on the field of battle, for they are considered very much expendable here. Next up, the arena. You've already learned about the alchemist, a trader that offers unique alchemical contraptions only found in the city-states. Another building entirely unique to the south is the arena. While northerners will duel for honor, southerners do so for the entertainment of the masses, and not always willingly. Arena fights are to the death, and in front of crowds that cheer for the most gruesome manner in which lives are dispatched. It is a different way to earn money with advantages and disadvantages over mercenary contracts. Unlike with mercenary contracts, in arena fights you're limited to fight with but a few men of your choice against various opponents. Also, unlike mercenary contracts, you'll know exactly which and how many opponents you're about to face. A certain number of beasts, slaves, captured desert raiders, or professional gladiators, for example. There's no lengthy traveling involved, nor ambushes along the road, and you're paid well for victory in front of cheering spectators. However, you can't retreat once the battle has started, and you won't be able to loot after the battle has ended. If your men survive long enough, fighting in the arena will earn them unique traits as they climb the ranks from pit fighter to champion of the arena. Naturally, there's also a new gladiator background to be hired in the city-states. How cool is that? So, after going through all of that, my first thought is that I mispronounced this word, and it's supposed to be bourgeoisie, not bourgeois. Apologies. And the slave thing is interesting, could have implications for a certain background, but I don't see that being like long-term valuable unless there's huge variance in the stats of the slaves. If they're anything near like beggars or vagabonds, they're not going to be great fighters. The arena seems very cool. It doesn't strike me as something that I would hit too early on because of how defensive I tend to play and how conservative I am. But I can definitely see that if you get some pretty good brothers quite early on and pick your contracts early in the arena, you can make a lot of money. Man, that's cool. And I can't wait to find out what this unique resource is that's been spoken of here in the south. I can only imagine it would be sulfur used for explosives. That would be my bet. Anyway, pretty cool. Right. On to Devblog 130, the Southern Arms. Naturally, the southern city-states of the Blazing Deserts DLC will have their own arsenal of weapons. Some are southern variants of weapons you already know, while others are entirely new and come with unique skills. You'll be able to buy them in the city-states and loot them from southern components. Let's take a look at a selection of them. The Safe. If you've been playing Battle Brothers for a while, you may already know of the Scimitar and the Shamshir, both introduced with the Warriors of the North DLC. They were a teaser of a southern culture with their own arms to come, which now is about to arrive. As we're adding the Safe, we're also doing some work on the existing Scimitar and Shamshir. A curved sword, the Safe is excellent for cutting deep wounds. I'm guessing it's that. Yeah, Scimitar, and then these are Shamshirs. What's like a cookery kind of thing. Where were we? A curved sword, the Safe is excellent for cutting deep wounds. It's less suited for thrusting than straight swords, however, and therefore has a harder time penetrating armor. The Safe is a southern variant of the northern short sword, and at the lowest tier in the line of curved swords. The Scimitar has been buffed to be a middle tier weapon now, while the Shamshir remains the highest tier. All of those weapons share the slash skill with northern swords, but also have the unique gash skill, which is much more likely to inflict serious injuries with adverse secondary effects than regular attacks are. Not all injuries are equally useful against opponents, and many of the cutting injuries inflicted by the gash skill were previously among the weaker ones. We've combined through all cutting injuries to rectify this. Combed through all cutting injuries, excuse me. Inflicting a deep chest cut, for example, will now always reduce an opponent's hit points by a percentage of their maximum hit points in addition to any damage your attack caused. It may not make much of a difference against brigand thugs who don't have a lot of hit points to begin with, but it can mean a lot against barbarians, orcs, and many beasts. As cutting injuries become more worthwhile to inflict, the crippling strikes perk also becomes a more worthwhile pick, particularly if used together with the Safe, Scimitar, or Shamshir to basically guarantee an injury. And I've got so many ideas and I can't wait now. The shields. Identical in function to other shields already in the game, but with somewhat different stats. Southerners also have their own shield designs that show how well their arms are inspired by those of historical Arabian and Persian cultures. It's like a Taj. Very cool. The pole mace. Some love for maces, which I think it needed, because with the release of the two-handed maces, you would almost never use a one-handed mace. Southern armies are rather fond of maces, and so you'll find a variety of southern maces with stats slightly different from their northern cousins while in the city-states. In fact, they also mounted a mace on a long pole and aptly called it a pole mace. It offers the advantage of a regular mace combined with a range of a pole arm. Interesting. I'm going to be super interested to see what its armor damage numbers are like. The thing is though, I shouldn't throw it off there. Let's get through it. The pole arm inflicts additional damage with 2 fatigue with every blow. Using its secondary skill, a target can be stunned for 1 turn over a distance of 2 tiles. The Nomad Sling. The south is no less plagued by banditry and pillaging than the north is. While the north has brigands laying in ambush along the road, the south has desert raiders descending upon trade caravans. These desert raiders, or nomads as they're sometimes called, have some equipment not otherwise available, including one particular weapon, the Nomad Sling. A simple weapon, used since ancient times and the favourite of many a shepherd, a sling is used to hurl stones towards the enemy. The Nomad Sling is a higher tier variant of the existing Staff Sling, with similar strengths and weaknesses, but better suited for the later parts of a campaign. Interesting. It's not particularly accurate or damaging, but with stones abundant everywhere, that will never run out of ammunition. 2 stones can be hurled each turn, and on hitting a target in the head, it will inflict the Daze status effect. Interesting. I'm still not sure this is going to make it worth a dedicated sling build, but maybe with a peasant background. But I can't wait to see what kind of backgrounds we can get with the slaves and the gladiators, like escaped gladiators. So cool. Peasant uprising. Awesome. The Katal dagger. The Katal dagger is a short curved blade notoriously used by assassins of the southern deserts. Like northern daggers, it's intended for quick attacks. Unlike northern daggers, it's not meant to puncture weak points of armor, but to cut throats of debilitated opponents. Ah, so synergy with dazed, sleeping, and stunned targets. All mace dagger frontline? Anyone? Using its death blow skill, this dagger inflicts significantly increased damage to targets which have the dazed, stunned, or sleeping status effect. It's much less fatiguing to use than the puncture skill of other daggers, but it can be used 3 times a turn with a dagger mastery perk. It works best, of course, in a combo with other equipment used to debilitate opponents, such as the new flash pot available from alchemists, or that Nomad Sling shown above. Interesting. These all sound like indirect buffs to the peasant background. I'm seeing lower level cheap weapons becoming more useful, but I still can't see any late game viability yet. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. The Sword Lance. As you've already learned, the city-states were built atop the ruins of the ancient empire. It's no surprise then that they also inherited some of their weapons. The Sword Lance is a sharp, curved blade attached to a long pole and used to deliver deep, sweeping strikes over a distance of 2 tiles. It's effectively a war scythe that performs slightly worse against armor, but it's much more durable because it wasn't lying in some sealed crypt for hundreds of years. Like all polearms, the Sword Lance can be used to strike a single target over a distance of 2 tiles. Its unique feature is the ability to perform sweeping strikes in a wide arc that hit 3 adjacent tiles in a counterclockwise order over some distance, which can cause mayhem in the opponent's backline. There's more new weapons coming with unique mechanics, and we'll take a look at those as well over the coming weeks. Okay, so awesome. So now we no longer have to use just crypt cleavers that break so quickly. I would note though, it does talk about performing a sweeping strikes in a wide arc that hits 3 adjacent tiles in a counterclockwise order over some distance. Now I'm guessing that the fact that they specify in a counterclockwise order implies that there might be damage or accuracy buffs per target hit. I don't believe the War Scythe currently hits in order. I think it hits all at once. Otherwise, it's just the same as the War Scythe. But anyway, this is cool. And despite being called Sword Lance, I'm guessing it still uses Polearm Mastery. So that's a nice buff to Polearm users, because I mean, you can use a regular Bullhook for armored targets and a Sword Lance for unarmored targets. Outstanding. And one thing I'm looking forward to in my next warband is having multiple dagger specialists, especially because I want to use the obsidian dagger that you get from the witch hut, and I want to use these Katal daggers. Interesting, interesting, interesting. So Nomad Sling, nice. That'll be a decent way to save money in the early to mid game with the ranged throwing specialists, but once you hit late game, the money you save from the ammo I don't think is going to be considerable enough that it'll be worth using it over any other throwing weapon. The pole mace, wonderful. I quite loved my mace exclusive cultist band that I had a little while ago. It had its weaknesses, but with the pole mace, man, interesting. You're still going to be flummoxed by shields quite regularly, but I believe the regular 2-handed maces do have a shield destruction ability, but I still love my shield breaker class with the 2-handed shield breaking axe on the back line and then rotating forward to rescue injured brothers. I don't see the pole mace or the sword lance changing that. Shields, cool. I'm guessing it'll be somewhere in between a heater and a kite with high durability at the high quality levels. And the safe is interesting. I'm particularly keen to use these on my tanks because I'm certainly going to be using tanks in the upcoming build that I'm going to have. Now I know that there are arguably more optimal weapons to use on tanks, but I mean, I don't see myself having a sword specialist user, especially because I want to go more dagger heavy in the next playthrough. Or maybe if I've got 7 up front, we do 1 dagger in the middle, 2 swords on the inside flanks on tanks, and then a mixture of axes and what else we need to flails. I need a... okay, I shouldn't be thinking about that now. We will cross that bridge. I'll do a little a preview and theory crafting video once we know when the DLC is being released. Well, friends, super interesting updates this week. Let me know what you guys think. Have I made any howling errors of judgment here with what I've been saying? Probably. Let me know what you think. I can't wait. Can't wait. Come on. Can't wait. Bring it out ready. Release the game.